Have you ever had someone take advantage of your kindness, only to push you too far? Well, that's exactly what happened to me when my HOA neighbor, who we'll call Karen, decided to throw a wedding on my front lawn without asking. Yeah, you heard that right. She didn't bother to get permission, and I was left to watch her make my property the backdrop of her big day. The audacity was unreal, and I knew I had to do something about it. But instead of letting it slide or making a scene, I decided to take a different approach. I had been planning something for weeks, and the timing couldn't have been more perfect. So I scheduled a septic tank cleanout. Not just any cleanout, but the loudest, most inconvenient one that could possibly happen, right on the morning of her wedding. You won't believe the chaos that followed. Now, you're probably wondering, did it work? Was it as satisfying as I'd hoped, or did it turn into an even bigger mess? Well, let's just say it didn't go quite as planned, or did it? Stick around to find out how this showdown unfolded, and trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. To give you some background, Karen had always been a bit of a nightmare. She was one of those HOA enforcers who loved to tell people what they could and couldn't do on their own property. I'm not exaggerating when I say she'd knock on your door if a leaf fell on your lawn out of place. It's like she was born with a clipboard and a rulebook, ready to make everyone's life miserable. And of course, she never missed a chance to make me feel like I wasn't up to her standards. But this wedding? That was a whole new level of disrespect. She didn't even have the decency to ask me, not even a simple, "Hey, is it okay if we use your lawn for a few hours?" No, instead, she sent out invites for a small ceremony, complete with chairs, flowers, and a huge arch right on my front yard. And of course, I had no say in it. I was livid. I tried to keep my cool, but this felt like a final straw. For weeks, I'd been dealing with her petty complaints about everything from my mailbox to the color of my house. It was time to show her that actions have consequences. I figured if she was going to make my life difficult, I could make hers a little less enjoyable. So that septic tank cleanout, it wasn't just a random decision. I had planned it carefully to land on the most inconvenient day of her life. And trust me, she wasn't going to forget it. As the wedding day approached, I couldn't help but imagine how things were going to unfold. Every time I drove by, I'd see Karen out there, decorating my yard like she owned it. It was maddening. I couldn't believe she thought this was perfectly fine. I kept thinking to myself, does she even realize how out of line she's being? And what really drove me crazy was that she never once even gave me the courtesy of an apology for all the petty HOA issues she caused over the past few months. The day before the wedding, I could feel my blood pressure rising. I had to deal with one last thing before I set my plan into motion. As I was getting ready to go to bed that night, I saw her walking across my lawn, again, without a care in the world, measuring spots for the chairs. That's when I realized how deeply this was bothering me. She didn't just disrespect me once. She'd been doing it for months. This wasn't about a lawn anymore. It was about standing up for myself after being treated like I didn't matter. When the morning of the wedding finally arrived, I was pacing by my front window, watching the clock tick closer and closer to the scheduled septic tank cleanout. I had called the company a few days prior, and they'd confirmed they'd be there right on time, no delays. But as I watched the little setup crew begin to arrive, my heart started to race. I was already feeling the tension in the air, and I knew Karen was going to flip when she realized what was about to happen. I didn't want to miss a single second of her reaction. But just as I thought everything was falling into place, something unexpected happened. The cleanout truck didn't show up on time. As I stood there, staring out the window, I could feel the frustration rising. My plan had been so perfect, so foolproof. I had done everything to make sure it would go off without a hitch, and now here I was, staring at my phone, waiting for the cleanout truck to show up. The seconds felt like hours, and with each passing minute, Karen's little wedding setup on my lawn seemed more and more like a ticking time bomb. She was oblivious, arranging flowers and chatting with the guests who had started to trickle in. She didn't know what was coming. But I did, and I couldn't just sit there and wait. So I called the septic tank company again. The phone rang and rang, but nobody answered. My stomach dropped. It was a message from the company. Asterisk, there's been a delay. The truck's on its way, but it might be a little later than we expected. Apologies. Asterisk, I felt like the universe was mocking me. A delay? On the day of all days? I was just about to lose it when, out of nowhere, I heard the rumbling sound of the truck pulling into the street. I rushed to the window, barely able to contain myself. Karen was still too busy directing guests and fussing over the decorations, unaware of the impending chaos. The truck turned down my driveway, and I could feel my heart racing. This was it, the moment of truth. As the truck parked right in front of my lawn, I saw her eyes shift in the direction of the noise, her face tightening. The tension was unbearable. What would happen next? Would she snap? Would I finally get the chance to take control of this situation? Just as I thought the moment had arrived, the tension in the air suddenly thickened. Karen turned, her eyes widening as she saw the truck. For a split second, I thought she might have finally understood the situation. But then, just as quickly as she'd realized what was happening, her expression changed. She stood there frozen, and then she smiled. A little too smugly. I couldn't believe my eyes. She wasn't panicking. She wasn't freaking out. Instead, she looked almost pleased. And then it hit me. She had planned for this. Somehow, she knew the cleanout was coming. Maybe she'd heard the truck a few days ago when I made the call, or maybe she had some spy in the HOA. Either way, she was ready. I watched in disbelief as Karen calmly walked over to the truck driver, exchanging a few words with him. The next thing I knew, he was shaking his head, and Karen was nodding, smiling with that annoying, smug grin of hers. My heart sank. Was she in on it? Had she somehow turned this against me? As I stood at the window, barely able to process what I was seeing, the unthinkable happened. The truck driver turned the key, shutting off the engine. Karen stepped back, grinning even more widely, and gestured toward the wedding guests who were now looking on, curious, but entirely unaware of the drama unfolding. I couldn't believe it. The cleanout had been delayed again, but this time it was no accident. It was deliberate. Somehow, Karen had managed to sabotage my plan. Now, with the truck off and everything seemingly back to normal, my heart pounded in my chest. Was this just a simple mistake, or had she outplayed me? What was her next move, and how far would she go to make sure I didn't get the satisfaction I'd been hoping for? The stakes were higher than ever, and I was left wondering if I'd lost the game before it had even begun. I couldn't just stand there and let Karen have the last laugh. This was my moment to make it right, and I wasn't about to let her ruin everything. I raced out the door, heart hammering in my chest, heading straight toward the truck driver. I could already see the way Karen was gloating, watching me from a distance as if this was some twisted game she was winning. "Hey," I called out, my voice sharp with urgency. The driver looked up, and I could see the hesitation in his eyes. It was clear something wasn't right. "What's going on here?" I asked, trying to stay calm, though inside, my mind was spinning. The driver shifted awkwardly, glancing at Karen, who was now walking toward us with that grin still plastered on her face. I felt my stomach twist. "Is there a problem with the truck?" I pressed, my voice more demanding now. "Actually," the driver started, looking genuinely apologetic, "I just got word we need to reschedule the cleanout. Apparently, the HOA arranged for a private event today, and I'm not allowed to do the work." I froze. My heart dropped. She had pulled some strings with the HOA, didn't she? Of course, Karen had the power to pull something like that. She had made sure I couldn't win, not on this day. But then, just as I thought I was completely defeated, I noticed something strange. The truck driver, still uneasy, pulled out his phone, showing me a message. It was from his boss. Job cancelled. Client no longer wants service. I stared at the phone, utterly confused. What's this mean? I asked, my mind racing. Karen was still smugly standing there, but I could tell something was off. That was when it hit me. She wasn't the client. In a twist I never saw coming, the truck driver revealed that the cleanout had been scheduled for her house, not mine. Apparently, Karen had been playing the system all along, trying to get me caught in a game of misdirection. The septic tank cleanout wasn't even for my property. It was a mix-up that she had deliberately orchestrated to trap me in her drama.